My name is Marley Bird, and this is section 3 of the Tournament of Stitches 2020. This crochet mystery make-along is a lot of fun and very, very addictive. We are working together to create a mosaic stitch scarf or infinity cowl. Yes, I did just say it's a mystery make-along, and then I did just tell you it's a scarf or infinity cowl and it's mosaic stitches. But I did not tell you what the mosaic stitches are. That's the mystery part. By this point, you should have completed sections 1 and 2, so that way we can work on section 3 together. If you have not completed those 2 sections, or you're just now finding the Tournament of Stitches, it's not too late to start, I promise. Simply go to the link I've put in the video description box below. That link takes you to the main blog post for the Tournament of Stitches. You can learn all about this event, and at the very bottom of this post, you will see the links for each section of the Crochet Mystery Make-Along and the Knitted Mystery Make-Along. Go ahead and get the instructions for section 1 and the instructions for section 2, and then you'll be ready for this set of instructions in no time. This project is a lot of fun to make. I promise you are going to love it. All right, those of you who have gotten started, why don't we go ahead and take a look at what we have and what we're getting ready to make today. By this point in the project, your scarf looks a little something like this. This was section 1, and then we did some basic single crochet rows with our color A, and we began section 2. I love section 2. It was like a stair step. Remember, it was like stepping up is what we said. Once we finish section 2, we're moving on to section 3, and that's where we are right here. These are the 8 rows of basic single crochet using our color A. And then I have 2 rows of basic single crochet using our color B. It's at this point I'm getting ready to follow along with the diagram. Now, I did a poll last time asking how many of you are using the chart, how many of you are using the diagram, how many of you are using the written words, and it was a pretty good mix that you guys are using all 3 of them together. I do want to still encourage those of you who are still only using the words to take a look at the diagram and see if you can understand what the symbols are trying to tell you. It's a really great visual tool to be able to see what you're creating on your actual fabric. I will be using the diagram yet again today because I think it is very handy as we work together for these first few rows. Now, for the mosaic stitches, as you know, we are creating these longer double crochets that drop down and work 2 rows below the row we're on, and they work in front of some chains. This is the chart of the mosaic stitches we will be working in today's video. You can see here, once you get past about the midway point, the stitches above the midway point mirror the stitches below the midway point. Okay, you can see that also as we look at the stitch diagram. Let's move that yarn out of the way. When looking at the stitch diagram, when we come up here to the midway point, which is 23 and 24 is really the halfway point. But remember, 25 has these double crochets that come down and work in front of those chains you created on 23 and 24. So if we kind of take this section here, and let's just put our marker right there, okay? All of the stitches above this marker mirror the stitches below this marker. Can you see that? So there's a double, there's a double. There's 2 doubles, there's 2 doubles. There's a double, there's a double. See what I mean? See how it mirrors each other? So as you're working your chart up all the way up here and you get past row 25, it's really on row 27 is where you will begin to really see that you're mirroring the stitches you've already created. Can you see that? Okay. So again, this chart begins on row 9, so you should go ahead and complete those 8 rows with your color A of just single crochets, and then you begin with color B on row 9 with 2 rows of single crochets. It's on row 11 where we will begin in this video. So I'm on row 11 and I have color C on my hook. So I'm going to move this out of the way, bring in my work, And I've already worked the first bit here. So I've single crocheted into the first, chain 2, skip a stitch, single crochet into the next. Okay, so that's where I am. Get my yarn here. And this is really the setup row, so that way we can begin to work those longer double crochets 2 rows below. So I have a single crochet in the next 2 stitches, chain 2, skip 1, single crochet in the next, chain 2, skip 1, single crochet in the next 3, chain 2, skip 1, single crochet in the next, chain 2, skip 1, oops, skip 1, single crochet in the next 3, chain 2, get some yarn going here, skip 1, single crochet in the next, chain 2, skip 1, single crochet in the next 3, chain 2, skip 1, single crochet in the next, chain 2, skip 1, single crochet in the next 3, chain 2, skip 1, single crochet in the last 2. Okay, so it looks a little something like this. Just like before, I will chain 1 and turn my work, or turn my work and chain 1. It does not matter. And then as I'm working back, whenever there is a stitch, I will single crochet into that stitch. And whenever there is a chain 2 or more, I will always chain the same number of chains. So there's my chain 2. So I just chain 2, I skip over those chains, and I go over to the next single crochets or the next stitches that are available to me so that I can work into them. So I chain 2, skip over to that single, chain 2, skip those chains, go over to the next singles, so on and so forth. By this point in the project, you should know how this works up. It's really on the wrong side rows that you get a chance to kind of have a breather, because you don't have to do any long double crochets at all. I think the hardest part on the wrong side rows is making sure you don't miss one of the stitches and get off count. So it's always very important that you are working into each one of the stitches, whether it's a single crochet or a double crochet that you create. At the end of the row, I want to change colors. So I will do that by partially completing the last stitch of the row. I will drop my old color, pick up my new color, and complete that final pull through of that stitch. Okay, then I turn my work, and I am ready to carry on with row 13. So I am going to work through row 13 with you, so that way you can be reminded how to do those longer double crochets 2 rows below. But I really feel like past that point, you should be able to work on this stitch pattern all by yourself. It's really not a super difficult stitch pattern. We start off with a single crochet in that first stitch there. And we jump right here to where those chains are. So remember, we're going to do a double. So we come in front of the chains, right down here to where that skipped stitch is, 2 rows below. Make sure you're in front of those chains and work that double crochet. Chain 2, skip a stitch, single in the next, chain 2, skip a stitch. We're here in front of chains. We're going to do a double crochet right down there in that skipped stitch. single crochet in the next, double crochet into that skip stitch 2 rows below, chain 2, skip a stitch, single in the next, chain 2, skip a stitch, double crochet in the skipped stitch 2 rows below, single crochet in the next, double crochet in that single 2 rows below. Getting the hang of this, you guys? I'm sure you are. Chain 2, skip a stitch, single in the next, chain 2, in front, and then we skip a stitch, double crochet in front of those chains into that skip stitch 2 rows below, single crochet in that next stitch, double crochet into that skip stitch 2 rows below, chain 2, skip a stitch, single crochet, chain 2, skip a stitch, double crochet into the skipped stitch 2 rows below, single crochet, double crochet into the skip stitch 2 rows below, chain 2, skip a stitch, single crochet in the next, chain 2, double crochet into the skip stitch 2 rows below, and then you finish off with 2 single crochets. See how that works out? These stitches right here, that long double crochet right there, that is right here. Okay, those 2 longer double crochets are right here. And I'm saying long double crochets, but they're just double crochets 2 rows below. Okay, and then same thing, those 2 there are right there. Those 2 there are right there. Those 2 there are right there. That one is right there. You see how that's a pictorial representation of the chart? All right, so as we carry on this next row, as I'm working back, that would be row 14. So I'm not doing any longer stitches there. I'm simply doing the single crochets, and I'm going to make sure I do those on top of my doubles. Make sure I do my chains on top of my chains. And when I get to row 15 and I change colors, as I'm working across, this double here will go in front of those chains into that skip stitch right down there. Can you see that? Okay. It's pretty easy stuff, and I really feel like once you've gotten through section 1 and section 2, you should have a pretty good grasp of how these mosaic stitches are worked in the technique we are using. We're always working 1 more chain than the number of stitches we are skipping. Remember, if you skip 1, you'll chain 2. If you skip 2, you'll chain 3. If you skip 3, you'll chain 4. Make sense? It's always the next time you get to the following color when you're working in front of those chains 2 rows below with that double crochet that stitch really begins to make itself known, make itself present in the entire project. As you are working along this particular stitch pattern, don't forget that when you get to the end of row 36, you can cut your color C. Row 37, you work color B for 1 row. 38, you work color B for 1 row. And that's where you will just hold on tight and be ready to move on to section 4. I actually think we end it where you have color A back on your hook because, spoiler alert, you guys ready? It's a little secret. This is what you get for watching the videos during the Tournament of Stitches. Each one of these sections is going to be divided by those 8 rows of single crochets with color A. So if you want to jump ahead, when you get to the end of your next section and you finish off with color A on your hook, if you want to go ahead and work up those 8 rows of single crochets and then 2 rows of single crochets with color B, you can go ahead and do that. I'll totally leave that up to you. But At this point, you need to complete section 3. I'll meet you back here on Thursday if you are following along with the Tournament of Stitches for section 4. If you are working along with me, make sure you share on social media. Use hashtag MarleyBird or hashtag Tournament of Stitches so that way I can find your picture and smash your like button. I hope you guys are healthy and safe and happy and having a great time. I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Thanks so much for joining me on the Marley Bird YouTube channel. If you liked what you saw, don't forget to hit subscribe. I've put a link right over there, or you can watch a couple of the videos I've already selected for you right down there. If you want to follow me on social media, I've put my links right over there. You can have all Marley all the time. Bye guys.